Hello, guests, and welcome back to the first episode of Showcases with Ethan. Tonight's contestant is a plasma, because that's the only one I maxed out. That sounded equally as cool when I said it out loud as when I thought about it in my head. So, if you don't mind, let's just jump into it, shall we? The very first ability is plasma path, and it makes a path of crystals or plasma, you could say. It looks super epic. Let me turn the graphics down so it doesn't blind people. It looks super epic. The cooldown's very, wow, that's equally as blinding. The cooldown's very low, and the casting time is very quick as well as the path of crystals, and they don't do decent damage too. The only problem is the width. I'm gonna rate it an 8, an average, good move, good first move for attribute. The second one is, I'm gonna come up with a name for it, even though I know it's plasma ball. Plasma boom boom. It makes a boom boom of plasma. The casting time is slightly faster as long as the cooldown. The damage is also slightly higher, but it just, you can't set it anywhere. It has to be come out right from your body. So I'm gonna rate it a little bit lower. We'll go with a 7.25. I don't know. Next is Turrents. This move's amazing. It summons 4 turrets in the sky and automatically targets bosses or people. I'll rate it a 10 out of 10. It's good for PvP and for bosses. It does decent amount of damage. It does really good amount of damage, actually, if all of the bullets hit, which they most likely will because it automatically targets. So, really good move. The casting time's instant, and the cooldown's sort of slow. That's the only problem about it. But I won't take away for its 10 out of 10. It might be the only perfect score, but you don't know. Next one is Beams from Heaven. That's not actually its name. I mean, it is actually the name, and I'm the maker of this game. So, that's what it's called. The cooldown's sort of slow. The casting time's real quick, though, and the beams follow you. It makes like 10 or 12 beams. The only problem is there's about a 0% chance the beams will hit anything unless you're fighting a boss. It's pretty garbage for PvP. Even though the beams each do decent damage, and on bosses, this might be one of the best moves, just because almost all of the beams hit, and each of them do like 6 damage. So that's like shooting 3, like, if all of the beams hit, that's like shooting 5 of these at the same time. It's pretty insane, the damage. But the problem is it's actual poop for PvP, so I'm gonna rate a 7. It's a little bit lower than this one, and much lower than this one, because this one is insane in a cup. This one is, we're gonna call it a plasma laser thing, even though lasers, I think, no they aren't. Wait. Plasma laser. Yep, that's what it'll be called, and I don't think lasers are plasma, but they might be. I don't know much about science. But yeah, that's what it does. You can actually increase the range if you upgrade it, which is different from most things. Increases the damage and range. And it's instant. I just feel less cool than what I'm using it for this one. So I'll rate it as 7.5, even though I think the damage is actually slightly higher, but it's not as wide. I don't know. I feel less cool. Maybe I should rate it an 8. I'll rate it an 8 too. I feel less cool, but also the cooldown's a little bit longer, and the casting time I think is a little bit longer too. Oh yeah, okay. I'll rate it 7.75. Next one is Big Boy Wall of Plasma. It makes a big boy wall of plasma. It actually is bigger than that, but some of it was stuck in the ground, I think. And this stops bullets. It stops some shots of magic, like water and fire, but not all of them. Also, it stops transformations. I don't know why you stand in this. Oh, I guess the wall is this big. Why you transform in this, but it does damage over time. It's decent for bosses because it does a lot of damage. If and it stays there for actually a decent amount of time as well. So it's a pretty good move. The cooldown's sort of long, and it's pretty garbage for PvP. But you know, it's eh. What should we rate it? We'll rate it a 7. 6.75. It's not great. It's pretty good for bosses, but sometimes you can't even get it to hit, and all of the damage is almost never dealt out because the boss just moves from it. But it's a good spam if you're fighting a boss when it's down. The next ability we have is super cool shotgun thingy majiggy. It does these cool explosions and then it shoots this decently ranged and decently width ability. So it might surprise you that I'm gonna rate this one like a 5.5. The problem is the cooldown's long. The whole and the range isn't as good as this. But why I don't like it so much, not only the cooldown, but it's this. First off, the damage isn't actually that great. I think this true damage is like 8 and this one's like 9 or something. So it's not that great. But the width is good. The problem is if you're PvPing someone, they're never going to get hit by that just because of the charge up. It takes so long. Also, if you're fighting a boss, it's better since it takes like as long as this combined with this and this. It takes the charge up takes as long as that, and that's only 3 abilities. So there would be really no reason you do this. I'm gonna snipe this guy real quick. Let me get sniped. Nope, that didn't work. Maybe this. Get sniped. Oh yeah, get sniped. Anyways, yeah, so I'll rate it a 5.5. It's not terrible for boss fights because it could even be known as a ranged ability, so you can just range with it, but it's not that great of a range ability because the boss, if it's coming at you, it might actually hit you. But it's not terrible. 5.5. I might rate it a 5.75. Being quite generous. The next one, this one's a boss drop, so this one you can't get from naturally doing quests that the plasma gives. The plasma girl, Violet, I think, she doesn't give this. This is from boss drop, so you have to be a boss, and it has to drop it. In case you didn't know, I explained that way too long. Anyways, this one, it makes a plasma zone, and that's what it's called. I mean, it's called a super big purpley pebble, and it looks pretty cool. Look at these particles coming out of it. But this is really good for almost every occasion, even though you're like, you might see it and you're like, oh, it's just like maybe a glorified one of this, except it has a longer cooldown. This, first off, it has more range and more damage. It's damage over time, so that pretty much, if someone's fighting you, they can't go in that area. So for example, if you're fighting a brawler, which is a close ranged, they're pretty much not able to touch you for the time that it's out, which it's out for actually a decently long time. And since you're pretty ranged, you can just snipe him and destroy him pretty easily. And you even have time to do this obnoxious move that probably won't hit him anyways, but looks sort of cool. But yeah, it's pretty great. Also with boss fights, it's amazing because while they're down, you can activate all of its damage, and when they get up, they won't be able to escape from it anyways unless they run a super far way away. So it's pretty great. I'm gonna rate a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost as good as this one. I just feel like this one's a little bit better because it auto targets, so it's better for PvP. For people just running around you real quick, because this is instant and they can't run away from this, but this, like, you can see it charge up and then it slowly goes out. It will probably get them, and but this will probably do all 4 shots, and they can't run away from if they're close to you. So I'll rate this one a 10. This one a 9.5. Also, you have to get it from a boss drop. And this one you get from a quest, and it's actually the 3rd move, so that's pretty cool. And last but not least, we have the most OP ability of all time. It's the plasma swing. This does infinite damage to every single person in the server, and you actually get it at level 0. Don't look this up or don't test it for yourself, because I'm right 1 bajillion% of the time. So whoa, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it kills everyone on the server, so I just killed everyone on the server. It gets slightly annoying, and you can actually make private servers extremely well with this, by just making everyone rage quit because you're just killing them over and over and over. It actually works if you just spawned in their force field, so I can just kill them as many times as I want. It's actually a surprise that they're still here. I'm just insane OP in every way, and they're actually dying over and over. Anyways, that's the end of my tier list. We're just gonna rate this one 11 out of 10 just because the cooldown is pretty much 0, and it's almost instant as well. Actually, no, we're just gonna rate it 11.5 out of 10. We don't want to go any higher, or we might cry, and that would be bad. So, and also the game would crash, but you know, that doesn't really matter. Anyways, I'm gonna go try to get on the leaderboard, and that might be my next video. See you guys later. Goodbye.